So I believe a lot of people are counting the Miami Heat out due to them not having Jimmy Butler anymore, and also them post-trade deadline looking poverty without him. However, Bam Adebayo and a bunch of other Heat players have expressed extreme confidence in themselves, even going as far as saying they are championship contenders. Although I don't really agree with him, I'm not going to put it past them that they can be a surprise team in the Eastern Conference. They definitely have talent, and also the East is extremely unpredictable outside of a few teams, aka New York, Cleveland, Detroit, and Orlando. But then it's really just a bunch of question marks. A lot of people love what Atlanta built in the offseason, but if Kristaps Porzingis can't stay healthy, then who knows what will happen. Then you got Boston and Indiana, who don't have their best players, yet have talent, but are they really going to be competing? The Sixers have talent, but are they going to stay healthy? Most likely not. And then Milwaukee has Giannis, but what else is around him? Nothing. So what I'm saying is there's an opportunity for them to still be like a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference if they figure everything out. Like, they got talent on the roster, and I believe there's a pathway to be one of the best defensive units in the entire league. Also, Heat fans are not going to like this comment, but Tyler Hero is injured, unfortunately. Hopefully he gets back sooner rather than later. But in the past, whenever he gets injured, the Heat always, start winning. I'm just saying. They also have a nice replacement in the time being without Tyler Hero, Norman Powell. I mean, he was nearly an all-star last season, 21.8 points per game, 48% from the field, 41% from three. He also is going to have a huge chip on his shoulder because a lot of NBA fans still critique him and say he's not really a winning basketball player. And if you remember, towards the end of the year, he got injured and then he came back late and he just really wasn't the same player compared to the beginning of the season. And that resulted in Clippers Nation really souring on him and believing they don't need him moving forward. But overall, I think him and Bam Adebayo are going to have great chemistry in the dribble handoff situation. I also think his aggressiveness is much needed for the Miami Heat. I think they've been missing that alpha offensively who's willing to take a ton of shots despite whether they go in or out since Jimmy Butler left. They also were missing rim pressure without Jimmy Butler, and Norman Powell's exactly that. He's extremely physical, just a different archetype from their number one source of offense, Tyler Hero. He can absorb contact and play through it on and off the basketball, and his rim pressure is just really going to help the Miami Heat. His three-point volume is going to be a breath of fresh air because he shot 7.1 three-pointers per game last season. Now, the problem post-All-Star break without Jimmy Butler is they were making three-pointers. They were very efficient, number 6 in the league post-All-Star break for three-point efficiency. However, they were 22nd in three-pointers attempted per game. The Miami Heat clearly needed help offensively. During the NBA playoffs, they had 104.7 offensive rating in 192 minutes against the Cleveland Cavaliers. At times, they were staying relatively close with them, but you could tell they could never get over that hump because the offense was so inconsistent. And Norman Powell, he doesn't fix that by any means, but it definitely helps. And when Tyler Hero is fully healthy, it will be nice to have one of those guys on the court at all times to carry the offensive load. I'm also a big believer in Davion Mitchell. He really is a perfect fit for what the Heat want to do, what Heat culture is. I mean, he picks up full court 24/7. He's 6 foot, but he's still a defensive beast. Honestly gives me Drew Holiday vibes, and I was thinking he was going to shoot to the moon right away with the Miami Heat, but there was an adjustment period. But once he got confident with the Miami Heat, and I think he's going to be even more comfortable and more confident heading into this season, finally being a starter for the first time in his NBA career. Like, he's guaranteed that spot, and I think that's a big step for him mentally, and I'm really hoping what he was doing to end the season carries over to the beginning. So during April, he was shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three, averaging 12.6 points, 6.7 assists per game while playing elite defense, and he was only turning it over 1.4 times per game. He was also very good in both play-in games, 15 points against Chicago, 9 assists, and then against Atlanta, 16 points, 5 assists. And then, of course, against the number 1 seed Cavs, he was one of the only players to be a positive on the Miami Heat. 15 points, 6 assists, 61% from the field, and 50% from 3. He really found his footing, but quite honestly, his impact is not really about points. It's about defense and getting his teammates involved. According to Basketball Index for perimeter isolation defense, he was ranked 8th out of 569 qualified players. And then ball screen navigation, he was ranked 10th out of 563 qualified players. I'm really just hoping for his success because he's a small guard and that's a dying breed in today's NBA. And he's just a joy to watch because he hustles 24/7 and plays hard-nosed defense. It reminds me of Drew Holiday, a smaller version of Drew Holiday when he's playing up to his potential. The problem is his confidence offensively has not translated from the college level to the NBA level. Like, there's more to his game offensively. It just hasn't been consistent. He should be a better three-point shooter than he has been. He should have a little pop off the dribble in terms of creating. But I'm hoping in Miami he can find some of that and reach another level in terms of consistency. But overall, they're going to get carried by their defense. Bam Adebayo, Defensive Player of the Year caliber. And then, of course, they got second-year player Khalil Ware. Hopefully he reaches another level as well. Then you got the 1-2 punch, Davion Mitchell and Andrew Wiggins on the perimeter. I mean, those four, they proved in the NBA playoffs last season they can be a top 3 defense. Listen to this. Against the number 1 offense in the league, the Cleveland Cavaliers, in 29 minutes, a lineup of Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Ware, Andrew Wiggins, and Davion Mitchell had 103.5 defensive rating. Only lost their minutes by -1 in the plus-minus category. Really, the big question for this team is, will they improve at all offensively? And I think the answer to that question is, can they get the same version of Norman Powell that the Clippers got for most of the regular season? But also, can Davion Mitchell take a step up? Continue where he left off? Can Nikola Jovic take another step? And can Andrew Wiggins unlock the Golden State version of him, where he's supremely efficient as a complementary player, and every now and again, on a random night, he can be the number 1 option offensively? And I think that same idea goes for Bam Adebayo. And then when Tyler Hero comes back, can you play Norman Powell and Hero next to each other and get away with it defensively? It doesn't completely tank your unit. Because offensively, that should work. They definitely have talent. They even have random players like Jaime Jaquez who can definitely have a bounce-back season. He was really good as a rookie, but then he dropped off as a sophomore, really dropped off. But if he can find a three-point shot, he would be pretty useful for them, in my opinion. But the main problem I have with this team is offensively, they just will be relying on players that have mostly been inconsistent on that end of the floor throughout their entire career. For them to work on that end of the floor, they need a bunch of players to have career years, and that just doesn't happen often. Overall, I would say I'm somewhere in the middle in the Heat players believing in themselves and then the normal NBA population. Like, I don't believe they're contenders for the East, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're like a top 5 seed. Because like I said, outside of a few teams, the East is just extremely unpredictable. And yes, the Miami Heat have pieces, so I guess hypothetically, if they can get it all to mesh, there's definitely potential to be a surprise team. I want to hear your thoughts below in the comments section, though. Also, if you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.